what we're going to touch on is just what we're seeing in the market at the moment, which is a shift in dynamics from a hardware to software focus, and how that can be causing some of the integration partners a bit of a dilemma as it stands at the moment. But then what we're really going to sort of look into is just how integrators can thrive in a more software-driven market that we see today. So the current dilemma that we see is that there's a shift in end-user dynamics. So large tech companies are investing heavily in security talent, which again, the pool of talent that was available historically was via the integrators. So again, a lot of these guys are coming in, offering big wages, harvesting the talent that they're then embedding within their own business to service their own security platforms. So it's causing a large problem for a lot of integration partners in terms of how they can either attract new talent, but also retain the talent that they have when big tech has such deep pockets to harvest these guys. So that's one thing that we're seeing, especially in the shift in the user dynamic. And then really just, there's a perception that the installers are now just fitting hardware, and with the guys embedding the talent within the end user business, they then just effectively connect it to your network and we'll take everything from here. So again, the skill set's also suffering because these guys aren't getting first-hand experience in actually commissioning, bringing the software online, but also taking care of some of the software integrations that exist at higher levels. So a knock-on effect is that it then impacts the skills. So we know there's a skill shortage in security. I don't think that's sort of any surprise, but I think what we need to sort of look at is that how we can then sort of partner with IT, big tech, to leverage their skill set to then in turn upskill ours, but maybe look outside of the traditional sort of the pools that we attract talent from, maybe look at more graduate schemes, apprenticeships, to really sort of drive meaningful change, but also bring through the next tranche of talent. Attracting and keeping talent is also, hand in hand with what we've seen first of all. So again, won't touch on that, but also we have a look at that in a couple of slides' time. Technology needs, so end users are really sort of driving flexible and interoperable solutions. So with that, it's putting a lot of stress on how we then align ourselves with big tech, the tech layer, but also tailoring solutions for customers. And then we have disruptive technology and business models that are coming in, annual recurring revenue models, cloud subscriptions, cloud-to-cloud technologies. How can we then sort of look at how integrators engage with these technologies to embrace those to drive revenue growth and also change within the market? And then increasing cyber compliance and awareness. So I think everybody's like, okay, we need to look at cyber hardening, but hardening is not a one-size-fits-all. And what does that actually mean for the integrators that are actually delivering these solutions on site, especially from a hardware perspective? So how do we make sure that we're selecting the right hardware products? How are we selecting the right solutions for customers in the first place? And how do we even identify where we need to be with regards to that? And I think there's a duty of care from installers, from the end users themselves to be very clear in terms of their programs and what they require, but also to assist the integrators with upskilling in that respect. So we also have the technology reality. So at the moment, if you look sort of the 26 years I've been in the security industry, up until probably around the sort of last 5 to 10 years, it's always been a door opener, especially if you look at the access control market. So it's seen as a security platform, and security is always seen as physical security. So, is this attractive to us? It's security. It's not necessarily deemed as IT, even though that's actually contrary to what actually the system actually delivers. It's seen as an overhead to the organization, and it's all about sort of how we can leverage the data that's within the security platform, and it's not archived and just sort of hived off somewhere. How can we then sort of deliver this into like a data warehouse that we can actually visualize and leverage the data in a more efficient way? There's also minimal integration, and it's very sort of hardwired integration, very legacy. You're talking open outputs and closed outputs from fire alarms into hardware panels. You're looking at video and intrusion that maybe integrate to a security platform, which is mostly sort of post-event reactiveness rather than proactiveness in terms of delivering value for the clients. And then legacy architecture, there's still tons and tons of physical servers, and some industries necessitate physical air-gapped systems. However, I think with the shift in cloud and community clouds and these compliant clouds for not only Department of Defense and Ministry of Defense type customers, but also government organizations, I think that there's a way we can actually start to break that legacy infrastructure that we see. You've then also got version control. So how do we then control the Mercury panels that have been on site for 17 years? Victims of their own success for being so reliable. You open a cabinet up and realize you've got a 15-year-old panel there that's still powering a door. Versions are probably way out of date. The firmware is probably not even secured anymore. There's probably all sorts of vulnerabilities around the TLS encryption levels when it connects to the network. So, there's this that we have to contend with as well. And not only that, we're seeing a huge shift in terms of how customers are using credentials. So we know that, our partners at Wavelengths and HID have been promoting the mobile first message for some time, and I think now it's actually really sort of gaining traction and customers are actually leading with a mobile first approach. But at the same time, there's also hundreds of thousands and millions of plastic credentials there. And then how does that sort of play into ESG goals as well for a lot of these businesses that are focusing on that? So how the integrators can take advantage in a software-led world, and really how they can win in the era of cloud and mobile. So software is 100% transforming how we engage with the building and access control specifically. So mobile credentials, as we mentioned before, are the new standard. Access control is no longer wires and panels. Access control is logical access control. It's also physical access control. So how can these two interplay to provide trust-based authentication, but also deliver mobile-first solutions to clients? And then also, I was talking with Lee yesterday about sort of APIs and open integrations, rather than having to join partner programs to sort of have access to databases or integrations to particular platforms. How can we be more open as an organization and as an industry to really sort of leverage open API-based integrations? And that also goes into the IT space as well. And then with all of that, the new integrator skill set, what does that actually look like? So how can we develop and nurture expertise in identity? How can we get integrators more engaged with, IAM, as an example, the identity and access management solutions, like your Oktas, like your SailPoints, like your Ping identities? How can we give these guys skills to integrate, or at least provide, sort of solutions, or work with customers to deliver these kinds of solutions to upgrade the skill set there? Also, mobile, cloud, and cyber also fall into that. And expand into managed services and recurring revenue models. How can an integrator shift from that sort of CapEx upfront cost, project cost, forget, walk away onto your next sort of project type mentality, and leverage the tech layer. So leverage the tech layer as your infrastructure, which is what these tech giants actually deliver to us, and then really sort of provide managed services and solutions to customers to tailor to their needs and deliver ongoing value for them. And again, if you look at bridging legacy systems, there's always going to be instances where you have a large legacy install base which can't be migrated for potentially a number of reasons. How can we utilize modern technology to deliver solutions that can't actually replace the legacy back end? How can we sort of add a layer of complexity but also security to that, to make sure that customers are actually sort of being able to talk to and issue identities across many different platforms, not only access control but lifts, lockers, room booking systems as well. And then effectively create seamless and user-centric journeys. So it's quite funny how the conversation has shifted with end users to more, we want a nice user experience. So you're like, okay, that was never a driver sort of 10 years ago from a security platform. It's just like, we need to get in and out of a building. Okay, that's great. Now it's shifted to the user experience. We want to make it attractive for talent to come to our business. They want to see us as a market leader. We need to have market leading solutions on how people engage with the building. And the front door to your business is always that first touch point, which will be ultimately the access control reader that's screwed to the wall on the outside. So at Swift Connect, who we are. So we're on a mission to connect the right people to the right places at the right time. And again, from our perspective, it's just how we can enable a lot of these journeys and enable integrators, end users and consultants to deliver these software-centric solutions to customers, to not only take into account the legacy, but also to take companies into the future in terms of that user experience and that digital transformation within their business. If you think of Swift Connect as an agnostic middleware layer that sits at the core of the identity journey, so with regards to that, you can then effectively push out an application from your MDM solution to your clients. You can then invite them via your internal network to say, okay, right, we're inviting you to deliver a mobile wallet solution. Okay, so then you log in through single sign-on. We authenticate you against your single sign-on platform. You then pass a token across into our platform, which authenticates you, which creates that trust layer, and we can then add to wallets seamlessly. So from a user experience perspective, there's no more queuing for cards, there's no more printing cards, there's no security guys manually adding users into a system. It's very much a case of once you're onboarded, we can then automate all of that identity process in the background to make sure that you can just connect with where you're going within a building, whether that's to book a room, whether that's to engage through a tenant engagement application, whether that's to gain access to a building, whether that's to use turnstiles, parking, any of those connected spaces around a security platform. And from our perspective, it's less about the security platform and the products you're using at the end. We like to think of ourselves as the Visa for physical security. So it's really about, as long as you have a merchant that can, that can interoperate with either a credential technology or a mobile credential itself, we can then take care of the plumbing in the background to make sure that that end user journey is slick and delivered to the customer to provide that seamless user experience. So who are our customers and what's the network effect? So really, you know, a lot of these customers like corporate real estate, we're enabling street to seat for these guys. And this is a great example of how a base build can have a legacy access control platform, but tenants will move in and they'll expect to have that user experience as soon as they enter that landlord demise and then get to their floor. And we call that street to seat. So they want to have that one single badge solution in the Apple Wallet that can get them through the landlord demise and into their building that they can then engage with. And this really sort of lends itself to how we add value, bridging those legacy and physical systems and delivering value for the clients. But it's not just corporate real estate. This can go into the enterprise space as well, such as professional services, financial services, pharma, life sciences, and big tech. These are all guys that are looking to deliver that value to their employees and provide that seamless user experience. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time today. My name's Tony Skadden. I'm Business Development Manager for UK and Ireland at Swift Connect. And just if anybody has any questions, we'll take them now.